Wembanyama and the Spurs just teased something huge as a recent Instagram post has Victor Wembanyama with one of his best friends, Maxime Raynaud, who has been shooting up draft boards in recent weeks. The massive 7'1" player out of Stanford has incredible mobility. He can shoot the three. He can pass the ball. He can do absolutely everything. And now they've teased the Spurs picking the fellow Frenchman even higher than we expected in the draft. We have to dive into what we saw from Victor Wembanyama, a further dive into Maxime Raynaud's player profile and how he fits perfectly with the San Antonio Spurs. But it's not just that for today. I also got to dive into a certain update on a backup point guard that could potentially be joining the Spurs. As much as I don't want to see it, there's a lot of crazy stuff we got to get into on this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, as always, quick reminder, we are so close to 7,000 subs. I think less than 200 away, and still 70% of you watching these videos are not subscribed. Hey, hit that free button. We are here every single day, all off season long. So if you want to stay up to date, this is the best place to be. Let's start this video, though. We'll get into Maxime Raynaud in just a little bit, but I want to start with some odds on a certain backup point guard. Now, look, we know the San Antonio Spurs, we're looking for a backup point guard, sort of. I mean, we know Dylan Harper is going to be drafted at number 2. That much certainly seems to be sure. I'm sure stuff can change and all that, but he's my pick, he's your pick, he's everyone's pick. It's Dylan Harper. But at the same time, there is some talk of maybe bringing in a veteran as well, maybe another kind of combo guard. There's still been talk of maybe bringing CP3 back, especially if we maybe trade Vassell. You could run Castle, maybe some minutes at the 3, whatever. I just wanted to show you this because I thought it was hilarious that the Spurs were even listed on this, and it's the Russell Westbrook sweepstakes. I know, right? This is crazy. I just was scrolling through this morning. I was like, oh, Brooklyn Nets, Atlanta Hawks, makes some sense. And then the Spurs. Like, I know it's only the 8th best odds, but considering we're right there around the Clippers and the Suns and the Blazers and the Jazz, like really the odds are not that much different. It's a bit of a crapshoot with Russell Westbrook, but this kind of caught me off guard. Now, it does make some sense, again, like with the talk of the Spurs wanting to add another backup guard. We had Chris Paul this past year, bringing in a veteran to help lead the young guys. I thought he was such a great fit with his leadership. His ability to play make on the floor with Victor Wembanyama was amazing. I mean, he started, the whole season, but talking about next year maybe coming off the bench would be great. A guy like Russell Westbrook, I can see the value that he could provide the San Antonio Spurs, but I can also see it detracting a lot from what this team is building. To me, he is just, I don't think that this is a move that the Spurs front office would ever make. I'm sure he's a decent leader. I just feel like his play style at this point in his career is not well suited to the San Antonio Spurs. And adding a guy like this on a minimum contract, hey, it's never really a bad thing, but you have to imagine he's going to want to play. He can shoot teams out of games. He's 36 years old. I just thought it was funny that the Spurs were mentioned here. Not going to dive too much deeper on this, but I did want to hear your guys' thoughts, which is a big reason I brought this up. But look, I want to move on to the big thing in this video. So right now, we are getting closer and closer to the draft. And like I mentioned earlier, the number 2 pick, it certainly seems like a lock in Dylan Harper. It looks like we're not going to trade it. Ace Bailey is maybe an outside shot. I know, was it Kendrick Perkins or someone said the Spurs should pick Tre Johnson? No thanks. I'm good with Dylan Harper. We're all good with Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper's amazing. But when we're talking about the number 14 pick, that's where things get a little more interesting. Now, this pick has been shopped around in trade talks, kind of all around the league. Oh, if the Spurs are going to make a trade, should it be number 14? Maybe. But look, if we're going to draft at number 14, might as well draft a guy that fits the team. And there's a certain name that I wanted to bring up. Now, this comes from Jeff G. Spurs, but this was also posted on Instagram via ComSport. Here's Victor Wembanyama with fellow Frenchman and chess-playing pal Maxime Raynaud. Maxime Raynaud is, again, a Frenchman. And if you don't know much about him, he's really good. Here are his stats at Stanford. There's a lot of things I got to dive into with Maxime Raynaud. So first off, have you guys know, based on what I read, I hope it's true, he's a double major at Stanford in computer science and math, which is insane. Not to mention, he was probably their best player this year, at least one of them. He had an insane senior year. Yes, I know he's a senior. Usually you don't really want to spend a lottery pick on a senior. It's a bit of a blanket statement because sometimes you do, obviously. But, it's one of those things where you're like, maybe. But 20 points a game, led the conference in rebounding, 10.6 rebounds per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 35% from 3 on 5.5 attempts, a massive leap from last year. He looks unbelievable, and he's been shooting up draft boards as of late. Look, this one here from Lonte on Twitter says Spurs should take a long look at him with their 14th pick. The most impactful performance of the NBA Combine scrimmages thus far belonged to Maxime Raynaud with 20 points, 9 boards, 3 assists. Versatile skill set, 7'1", scoring from all over the floor, as well as impressive intensity defensively. Now, when you watch Raynaud play, his defense, like, his big thing is his versatility on defense. Not to mention that, like, can we just watch that again? Like, what the heck is this? A 7'1" guy stealing the ball, going in transition, throwing down a windmill dunk. That's insane. But then here, a skyhook running through the paint, right? He scores from everywhere. Contested three, bang. It doesn't matter. Here he catches it in the corner. Little pump fake, Euro step into the paint with a silky finish. And his final one here, from well above the three-point line, lasering it down low for the connecting pass to a three-point shot. Watching him play is insane. Right now, his advanced stats don't paint the prettiest picture at times. His box plus minus was not maybe as good as you'd expect of a lottery draft pick, but his profile, his physical tools, they're all there. And if I dive into his actual measurements at the combine, the official ones were 7 feet and a quarter barefoot, which again would be over 7'1" with shoes. You'd probably be touching 7'2". He'd probably be listed at 7'1.5" with shoes. 237 pounds. He's a big guy, and you can see he fills his frame very nicely. He doesn't look disproportionate at all. He looks like he fits the frame well, and you can tell he moves very well at that size as well. 7'1.25" wingspan, a little bit less than you would expect. Usually you'd expect a bit of a longer wingspan compared to height, but at the same time, that's whatever. You know, he's not an insanely good rim protector. Again, his defensive value, while he can rim protect, 1.4 blocks a game at Stanford, he also can really stay with you. He's pretty quick-footed, so if he needs to switch, it's not that bad, which is kind of crazy to say about a guy who's like 7'1", 9'2" standing reach, impressive size and reach for the French big. Now, the thing is, you have him here. This is from Tankathon. They have him at 41st. NBADraft.net has him at 42, 43. But again, it's after this combine performance that has a lot of people talking about Maxime Raynaud. He stood out at that performance. And again, when you see those stats, like in college, when you're a 7-foot plus, senior big man, you do see a lot of those guys have dominant seasons and then never really go on to do much in the NBA. Not always, but that's one of those red flags. It's like, will this really translate? But the thing is, if you're picking Maxime Raynaud, it's not for him to be a star. It's for him to literally be, in my opinion, the perfect type of backup for Victor Wembanyama. What better guy? Look, I know there's guys like we talked about before, like Luke Cornett, who might be available, Brook Lopez, we talked about recently. But drafting a young guy like this, having your two Frenchmen, 1 and 2, the 7'4" Victor Wembanyama and the 7'1" Maxime Raynaud, both of them are able to stretch the floor. Both of them extremely mobile. Both of them very versatile defensively. Both of them are able to pass the ball with the best of the centers in the league right now. Plus, they're like best buddies. They play chess together. Like, they're both kind of like nerdy, smart guys. Like, I don't know, like that fits very well to me. And I feel like it not only fits the Spurs culture, it fits the needs the Spurs have in terms of, again, needing a backup big. And what better guy? Now, the only problem is 14 does feel like a bit of a reach. And, I'm sure Wemby's going to be doing his best to say, hey, can we get this guy, right? Because, look, again, it's not just that it's his best friend. It also makes sense in terms of the roster. And I'm very excited about this idea. 14's a bit high. Now, who knows though, right? Because when we get into the draft, if the Spurs, they have their guy, they're not afraid to pick them. And again, when I look at like Raynaud's personality, the fact he's friends with Wemby, they play chess together, double major in like math and computer science. It's like, I don't think this guy sleeps. Like, how do you, I've seen people talk about like, how the heck does he do that? How is he like their best basketball player playing a high level at Stanford and is doing a double major at Stanford? Even people doing one single degree at Stanford, like you probably don't even sleep. Anyway, but those kind of personality traits fit very well with what the Spurs are building. It fits very well with Wembanyama. Again, low drama, just a guy that has an incredible work ethic. Those are all huge green flags for me. So if he is a guy the Spurs want to target, they're not afraid to reach at 14. We've seen it before. We'll probably see it again. Will he be available there? He should be. Could you maybe get him in the second round? Maybe, but he's shooting up a lot of draft boards, seeing his name everywhere. But listen, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I am very high on this idea. After seeing these pictures of them together, I am beyond excited. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on Maxime Raynaud down below as well. Let me just show that highlight reel one more time. Holy crap. This first clip is insane. But listen, that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, guys. We are so close to 7,000 subscribers. And hey, we'd love to hit that goal before the end of May. Just wanted to thank you guys all for watching every single day. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.